the mini claps. So I believe I'm audible. Just confirm if I am audible enough before we begin.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I thank God for today that I have this opportunity even to take us through the book of Job, beginning from chapter 18. So maybe as before we proceed to chapter 18, maybe we can just take us through maybe some of the things we captured from last teaching that was on the last class that we had, which is last week. And as so far we have seen, at the moment we are it's more like a conversation between Job and who is a blameless and upright man. And at the moment, he's currently being persecuted by Satan, and with all the suffering that he's going through, so that with the aim that for him to turn away from God. And now we see he's having conversation with his three friends, that is Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. So from last week, we saw it was more of a conversation between Job's speaks, it was Eliphaz who was responding to the suffering of Job, and Job also answered back based on what they. So it was more like a conversation back and forth of a sort. So we see Eliphaz accused Job of speaking empty words and lacking wisdom. So these friends of Job, what they were doing, rather than being, you see, the way a friend would be when somebody is in need or suffering, but for them, they were mostly focused on wanting to know what what did Job do that has offended God. That's why he's suffering. So we see here from the last class, we saw that he was accusing Job that he was speaking empty words lacking wisdom, which implies that Job was not wise. And also, at some point, he was saying that how he was, or his speech was not showing that he doesn't have the fear of God in him. And you see, these are all trying to justify why Job is suffering this much. As we have seen, he's actually really suffering. He has gone quite some suffering this far. And yet, this friend Eliphaz, rather than well, they came to mourn with him, and but in the end, but now rather than consoling him, they are here uh, trying to show him that maybe he deserved the suffering because maybe he had sinned. So he accused Job of being proud and thinking uh, himself wiser than all his friends, because Job did not agree with the traditional wisdom of the day. So Eliphaz was basing his interpretation of the suffering of Job based on the tradition wisdom, maybe the wisdom that had been passed on from generation to generation from elders. So that was his basis on how he was interpreting the reason why Job was undergoing such great suffering. And we see Job was not aligning with that kind of wisdom, because he believed himself that he had not done anything wrong, and his suffering is not related to anything that he has done wrong against God. And we see that at the end, towards the end of chapter 6, I think 17 or 16, we see because of those heartening words from a dear friend like Eliphaz, he ended up, his spirit is become broken, and you see even he's giving up, he's losing hope, and he just feel like he wants to die, maybe to escape the suffering. And yes, and that's where we ended last time, where Job had decided that he has given up, he has lost hope. Now he wants to. His hope was either to die to escape this suffering, and that his hope was all gone. So today we'll proceed to chapter 18. So in this chapter 18 now, it's the other friend now, Bildad. So we saw that he had three friends. So we had Uh, we had Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. So these friends now they are in a conversation with Job regarding his situation. And now in this chapter 18, it's about Bildad who was and this is now like a second response to what Job had already is a second response. This Bildad had already we had looked in chapter 8. He had also shared some insights or his thoughts towards Job's suffering. And now this is now a second time responding after Job has already responded to various uh, what they had said there before regarding why he was suffering. So today we'll be looking at the response or the second response of Bildad to Job. So we'll read uh, chapter 18. I don't know if you are available to assist in reading, you can just post on the chat. Uh, I think I see there are how many verses? There are 21 verses. So we can split into seven verses. I'll read the first verses 1 to 7. So if someone else is available to help me read from verse 8 to 15 and from 16 to 21. Yes, okay, you can see Frida is available to read. And one more person so that we can begin. Okay, yes. I believe this, see, this is user. I'm not sure who it is, but you'll just read from verse 15 to 21. So I'll begin. Chapter 8 from verse 1. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, how long till you put an end to your words? Gain understanding, and afterwards we will speak. Why are we counted as beasts and regarded as stupid in your sight? You who tear yourself in anger, shall the earth be forsaken for you, or shall the rock be moved from its place? The light of the wicked indeed goes out, and the flame of his fire does not shine. The light is dark in his tent, and his lamp beside him is put out. The steps of his strength are shortened, and his own counsels cast him down. Okay, Frida.
8. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walks on its mesh. A trap seized him by the heel, a snare lays hold of him. A rope is hidden for him in the ground, a trap for him in the path. Terrors frighten him on every side and chase him at his heel. His strength is famished, and calamity is already for his stumbling. It consumed the part of his skin. The firstborn of death consumes his limbs. He is torn from the tent in which he trusted and is brought to the king of terrors.
Roots dry up beneath, and his branches wither above. His memory perishes from the earth, and he has no name in the street. He is thrust from light into darkness and driven out of the world. He has no posterity or progeny among his people, and no survivor where he used to live. They of the West are appalled at his day, and horror seizes them of the East. Surely, such are the dwellings of the unrighteous, such is the place of him who knows not God.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for assisting me to read. So chapter 18, as we started there, we see this is a response or a speech by Bildad, uh, who is one of the friends of Job, or one of the three friends of Job. So we see from the beginning, from verse 1 or verse 2 rather, he says, "How long will you put an end to your words? Gain understanding, and afterwards we will speak." So we see here Bildad is more like appears to use Job's own words against him. When you go to chapter 16, verse 3, uh, we see that Job had made some similar or some similar comments or words before, where he was saying that, "Shall words of wind have an end? Or what provokes you that you answer?" So it's like Bildad is asking Job when he'll stop his many words. And we see in chapter 16 the same thing Job was telling Eliphaz, the same thing. So it's like he was using his words against him. Yes, that why, when will these many words end? So we can see that both of this, both Job and Bildad, they are. It's more like it has been a back and forth between these friends. So they are saying, when will this back and forth talk end? So that now you can so maybe action can be taken, or for Job to respond and do what he's supposed to do. So we see that it was more like they're trying to make him feel bad, maybe because every time he tells them something, he always finds a way to respond back to them. So they are trying to make him maybe not uh, to do less talking and maybe do more action. So it's more like a back and forth between these friends and Job and his friends. So verse 3, we see that it says that, "Why are we counted as beasts and regarded as stupid in your sight?" So this is more like uh, I don't know if you translate it in Kiswahili, it will sound very, I don't know, it will sound quite interesting. But maybe not, let me not do that. But it's more like he's trying to tell them, uh, why are you seeing us as beasts or stupid in your sight? Maybe because Job is not, they're not seeing whatever they're saying as it's making sense. That Job regards what they are telling him, like maybe they don't make sense or it sounds stupid in Job's sight. So according to Bildad, that in Job's sight they are like beasts and stupid. And this is because maybe Job is not able to follow their advice or wisdom. It's like an oppose of what they are saying. They are trying to claim that Job needs to repent, to turn, to ask God for forgiveness, because that was their main message all along, that Job has sinned and done evil in the sight of God, and he should repent. But Job, on the other hand, he keeps on for every response, trying to show them that there's nothing wrong I've done. He has not offended God in any way, and there's nothing he needs to repent about. So maybe that's why Bildad was saying that maybe Job sees them as beasts or stupid in their sight. Like he's not following what they are telling them. According to them, according to Bildad, their friends' point of view is the right thing, and yet Job is not trying to follow that. So in verse 4, we see it says, "You who tear yourself in anger, shall the earth be forsaken for you? Or shall the rock be removed from its place?" So we see here that it's like he's trying to dismiss the anger that Job has. In this situation, Job is the one actually who is suffering, who's undergoing all this suffering. But his friends and he may be right even in being angry because he does not understand why he's suffering the way he's suffering. He has not done anything against God that maybe to warrant for him to suffer like this. So Job expresses anger of his suffering. But you see this from this verse, we see Bildad is trying to show Job that there's nothing you are going through. You see, he's saying that shall the earth be forsaken for you, or shall the rock be removed from its place? You see, the earth be forsaken for you. You see, to forsake the earth, or it sounds like it's a greater thing compared to what it's trying to compare the situation of Job with supernatural events that will be done. So in short, it's like trying to say that his situation does not warrant any supernatural change compared to, like, it doesn't warrant any supernatural change. That in short, they are trying to is trying to make him feel like that he deserves what he's going through, that God should not stop to do something like to hold on the earth or to handle everything that's happening on earth so that he can be able to resolve his suffering. So Bildad felt that Job wanted to overturn unchangeable laws of life. Like it's natural for him to undergo that suffering because all along they know he has sinned, or they believe that he has sinned against God. That's why he's suffering. But you see, according to Job, he has not, and we also know Job has not done anything. It's just that it's the inflicting this suffering so that Job can turn away from God. Okay, so proceeding to verse 5. So the verse 5 says, the light of the wicked indeed goes out, and the flame of his fire does not shine. And the light in the dark in his tent, the light is dark in his tent, and his lamp beside him is put out. The steps of his strength are shortened, and his own counsel cast him down. So we see what Bildad is describing here is what happens on a wicked person. So he's saying for a wicked person, the light of the wicked indeed goes out, and the flame of his fire does not shine. So he's describing what happens on a wicked person. And you see, he's telling Job this it's trying to imply to Job that you see this as the description of this wicked person we are talking about is that most likely you are. He's telling Job, most likely you are this person, that Job is wicked. That's why he's suffering. That's why he's undergoing all this. So we see from verse 5 to 8, Bildad is describing what happens or what a wicked person go through. And we see that on my Bible, the topic or the subhead for this is saying that is that the wicked are punished. So all this description of the wicked was trying to more like speaking to Job, telling him that you see the suffering you're going through is because you are wicked, and he's describing what happens to those people who are wicked. We see Bildad giving a vivid imagery such as snuffing out of a lamp to illustrate the life of an evil person. He paints a portrait of fear, traps, and darkness surrounds the wicked, underlying the consequences of the evil deeds. So Bildad is describing actually what normally happens. For someone who is wicked, he will be able to find themselves in such situation, that his light is dark in his tent and his lamp beside him is put out. the steps of his strength are shortened. So this is what happens to those people who are wicked. And he's trying to demonstrate or to illustrate all this in mind, just for Job to be able to tuseme kujijazia you are this person. That's why you are suffering, because you are a wicked person. So we see verse 9, verse 9 to 17. See, it's still describing about what happens to wicked people. So we say that the net takes up him by the heel, and a snare lays hold on him. A nose is hidden for him on the ground, and a trap for him in the road. So you see all this, more like for the wicked person, they are always subject to danger. They are always exposed to distraction. They are always exposed to uh, distractions or traps on the road. It's like if you are wicked, it means you're not protected by God. So everything comes, will find you on the road. It will just hit you. Yeah, so from verse 9 to 17, he still continued to describe what a wicked person life is like. His strength is starved and distraction is ready at his side. So for a wicked person, distraction is always waiting them. Wherever they go, it will find them. So he's telling them this Job all just to, it's more like trying to describe, you see the suffering you're going through, Job, you are undergoing suffering like a person who is a wicked person. He's describing all the challenges or the suffering or the things that a wicked person go through just because they are not preserved by God. So it means all this, describing all this so that Job can be able to see himself in this person who is wicked. We see he says that he is uprooted from the shelter of his tent, that is verse 14, and they parade him before the king of terrors. Verse 15, they dwell in his tent who are none of his. Brimstone is scattered on his dwelling. So all this description of a wicked person, Bildad is trying to tell Job, this person or this or is this if I can say characteristics of a wicked person, or how you can know a wicked person is by observing their life. And you see the life of a wicked person, this is how it is. And now he's trying to compare with the suffering that Job is going through. So he's using this to attack Job, calling him that he is wicked. And we see that Bildad takes previous statements of Job in chapter 16 and uses against him. So in chapter 16, from verse 9 to 14, I believe that's where Job was describing what was happening to him, that he tears me in his wrath and hates me. That description all the way to 14, it just on someone who is suffering. And Bildad is trying to compare that with what a wicked person goes through. And we see Bildad now concludes that the suffering of Job is because of his wickedness. So maybe another thing too, that Bildad maybe saw that or was a proof for him that Job was wicked. In verse 13, it says, it devours patches of his skin. The firstborn of death devours his limbs. So we know Job, the affliction of Job was that One of it was he lost his family and all his wealth. And then after that, now the Satan now afflicted his body. Now he gave him afflicted his skin. So according to Bildad, one of the uh, things that the wicked people go through is that their skins are devoured. So he sees Job's skin, he has some skin disease, and now for him, he sees that this is one of the proof that truly Job is wicked, and that's why he's suffering. So you see, the main purpose for this conversation that Bildad is having with Job is trying to prove to Job that Job, you are wicked. That's why you are suffering, and he should turn away from his wicked ways so that God can forgive him and be able to restore back his life. So from verse 17 to 21, we see that Job, this is a continuation for description of wicked people. The memory of him perishes from the earth. So Bildad is saying the memory of a wicked person perishes from the earth. It means they will not be remembered. Those who do wicked things, their memory will perish from the earth. And it's possible why he's quoting this or bringing up this is because previously on chapter 16, we see Job, chapter 16 from verse 18 to 19, Job is pleading for the earth to testify of his innocence before God. I'm not sure if that was the point. Okay, let me just check. Okay, let me just read still chapter 18 from 17 to 21. The memory of him perishes from the earth, and he has no name among the renowned. He is driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. He has neither son or prosperity among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. Those in the west are astonished at his day, and those in the east are frightened. 21. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him who does not know God. So we see what Bildad is saying here. These are the renowned among the renowned. He's driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. He has neither son or prosperity among his people. So you see this point where no son or prosperity among his people. It just speaks. We know Job underwent. He lost all of his family apart from the wife, who still as per now is still alive. He lost his children. He lost his wealth, and you see at this point. Bildad, as he described a wicked person, one of the things he says for a wicked person, he has neither son nor prosperity among his people, nor any remains in his dwelling. So, based on the description of a wicked person, according to the current state of Job, Job qualifies as a wicked person. That is based on Bildad's assessment. Because of the situation, because Job is one of the things he has undergone now is that he has lost his family, all his wealth, and we know Job was quite wealthy. He had many servants, and now all that is gone. And Bildad here is trying to push the point that those who are wicked, they don't have anything. They don't have a son nor prosperity among his people. So it's like those who don't have, wicked people don't have anything. And since Job at the current state, he had lost everything. is now considered as wicked in the eyes of this or his friend Bildad. Sorry about that. There's an issue with my connection. Sorry about that. So let's proceed. So we were talking about how Bildad was telling Job one of the things that makes someone or qualifies someone as wicked is that he has neither son or prosperity among his people. And Bildad knows the the kind of suffering that Job has underwent through losing his family. So we see this is really cruel and uh, even it's not something should come to a friend. It's like adding salt into the injury, trying to, yes, rather than continue to console with him about the loss of his family, but now he's trying to use the loss of his family to claim that he's among those people who are wicked. And we see this is really, it's really a cruel statement. And this is Job's friend. This is Job's friend who is telling him about the loss that he went through, that because of that loss, you are wicked. Yet, we all know it's not anything that Job has done. John was innocent all through. So we see Bildad describes the fate of the wicked in detail. So all throughout this chapter, chapter 18, it was Bildad describing how or what a wicked person goes through, or what are the ways of the wicked, and now trying to correlate that with Job current situation, trying to justify that the reason why Job is suffering this much is because of his wickedness. He implies that Job's suffering is as a result of wickedness, and which is really not true. This is not applying the truth uh, in the situation. Yes, it is true what he's describing about what wicked people go through. And all this that Bill has said, it's actually true about what happens to those people who are wicked. Uh, they undergo all these issues and struggles. But now to relate it to the suffering of Job, that's where now uh, is applying that wisdom uh, wrongly in this situation. Yeah, and still, what still fascinates me that this is Job's friend who's doing all this. I do think friends should be there to support you in your when you're on your low moments. But now, these friends now, particularly right now, Bildad trying to justify that Job, you're suffering because you are a wicked person. And this is their friend, someone they have worked with there before when Job had everything. But now, since now he has lost everything, he's suffering. Now he's trying to justify that all that Job is suffering from is because of his wickedness. Yes, and that's uh, and we see there in verse 21, the Bible says that surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him who does not know God. So all this description, he has described a wicked person, and he's trying to say that Job is wicked, and that and in a place of where there is wickedness, of course, God does not dwell there. So he's trying to affirm that God is not with Job at this time, and Job needs to. Their main point is or the main point of all his friends is, you have sinned. You need to repent, and so that this suffering can go away. So one thing that I'm capturing from this is it's about how we should respond to whenever we find our friends, uh, or in this case our or people that we that are known to us, or even our friends, or even our colleagues, or wherever people, whenever somebody is uh, is maybe found in a situation that they are suffering, it's good to show empathy and compassion rather than to judge them. Yet we do not, like in this case, you see, Bildad judged Job being wicked based on his understanding of what kind of that how a wicked person's life is, and now because he's seeing how Job is suffering now, it's because of maybe he's wicked. So this is just trying to help me to understand that we should not just judge people because of what they are going through. We don't know why they are going through. We may make assumptions because based on our own wisdom, based on our own uh, uh, knowledge that we know, which the knowledge may be true, but maybe the application of that knowledge is not in that situation. It is not right, like in the case of Job here, because we all know why Job is suffering. He was, the Bible calls him that is or God testified that God testified about Job that Job is a blameless and upright man. So he was blameless and upright. So there's nothing wrong that Job did that warrant all this suffering. But we see his friend here, Bildad, trying to justify why he's suffering is because that based on the life of a wicked person, as outlined in chapter 18, that's what is happening to Job. And we see that was not the case. Yeah, so we are done with chapter 18. So I see we're still in good time. So you can share on the chat maybe anything that you have picked up as we continue. So we'll proceed to chapter 19 quickly. So I'll also request someone to assist me to read. So chapter 19 has 29 verses. So this is now Job responding to what Bildad had said. So most part of the book of Job, we see it's Job and his friends. It's more like they're having conversation. So the friends speak and then Job responds to them. So we'll just read quickly chapter 19. Now this is now Job responding to what Bildad had said. So we have 29 verses. So if you are able to read, you can. I see Pesh can read. So we have who else can be able to read? You can just share on the chat. So we have 29 verses. So we can have 4 people reading. So you can read 7, 7, 7, and then 8. Yes, thank you, Janet. So Pesh will read from verse 8 to 4 to 15. And then Janet will read from verse 15 to 21. And then the last person to read from 22 to 29. So anyone else? Okay. So let me read from verse 1 to... Okay, thank you, Pastor Phil. So you read the last verses. So I'll read from verse 1 to 7, then Pesh from verse 8 to 15, Janet from 16 to 20, 21, and then Pastor Phil 21 to 29. So 19. So then Job answered and said, "How long will you torment my soul and break me in pieces with words? These 10 times you have reproached me. You are not ashamed that you have wronged me. And if indeed I have erred, my error remains with me. If indeed you exalt yourself against me and plead my disgrace against me, know then that God has wronged me, and he has surrounded me with his net. If I cry out concerning wrong, I am not heard. If I cry aloud, there is no justice."
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear
Hey,
you.
okay. He has walled up my way so that I cannot pass, and he has set darkness upon my paths. 9. He has stripped from me my glory and taken the crown of my head. 10. He breaks me down on every side, and I am gone, and my hope has he pulled up like a tree. 11. He has kindled his wrath against me, and he counts me as his adversary. 12. His troops come on together. They have cast up their siege ramp against me and encamp around my tent. 13. He has put my brothers far from me, and those who knew me are wholly estranged from me. 14. My relatives have failed me. My close friends have forgotten me. 15. The guests in my house and my maid servants count me as a stranger. I have become a foreigner in their eyes.
Job 19, verse 16. I summon my servant, but he does not answer, though I beg him with my own mouth. Verse 17. My breath is offensive to my wife. I am loathsome to my own brothers. 18. Even the little boys scorn me when I appear. They ridicule me. 19. All my intimate friends detest me. Those I love have turned against me. Verse 20. I am nothing but skin and bones. I have escaped with only the skin of my teeth. Verse 21. Have pity on me, my friends. Have pity, for the hand of God has struck me.
Why do you, like God, pursue me? Why are you not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were written. Oh, that they were inscribed in a book. Oh, that with an iron pen and lead, they were engraved in the rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been thus destroyed, yet in my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold, and not another. My heart faints within me. If you say, how will we pursue him? And the root of the matter is found in him. Be afraid of the sword, for wrath brings the punishment of the sword, that you may know there is judgment.
And thank you for assisting me to read through. So chapter 19, now this is Job responding to what Bildad had there in chapter 18. We saw Bildad was accusing him of being a wicked person, and maybe that's why, and wicked people are being punished. So that's why the reason why Job is suffering is because he's wicked. So we see here Job is responding to what Bildad just spoke. So then Job answered and said, "How long will you torment my soul and break me in pieces with words? These 10 times you have reproached me. You are not ashamed that you have wronged me. And if indeed I have erred, my errors remains with me. If indeed you exalt yourself against me and plead my disgrace against me." So we see here Job is responding by telling Bildad that he has torment that his friends, now I believe was speaking to all of them because they were there with Job, all of them. So he was he was telling them how their words have really tormented him, because those we can see from the conversation or the speeches from Job's friends, they are not really friendly, like they are not encouraging. And we see here Job is saying that their words have really tormented him. And we see Job, uh, he feels like his friends are turned to be accusers. He's telling them, why are you are not ashamed that you have wronged me? So this is their friend who they came to mourn with because of his suffering, but these are not characteristics of friends that what they are doing to Job. It's not supportive. It's not encouraging to Job, but it is it, it it's more like they're coming to accuse him of why he's suffering. They're trying to accuse him that he has done wrong before God. Yet Job has not done anything before God. So we see Job feels wronged and misunderstood. So his friends have wronged him just by trying to justify his suffering. They're trying to justify his suffering rather than to support him uh, through his suffering, because they actually don't know why he's suffering. They're just making assumption based on their own understanding, based on their own perspective, which their perspective may be true, but in this case, maybe it does not apply because all their perception was based on you have done something wrong. But in this case, Job was suffering for not doing any, for being blameless and upright. So we see Job rebuked his companion for being his accusers rather than his friends. They chose to accuse even though they were unaware of any wrongdoing on Job's part. So they decided to accuse him rather than support him. They just assumed because he's suffering, he must have done something wrong. And I believe that's what normally happens to us, even as Christians. We find that maybe our fellow brethren, they are undergoing a certain issue, or someone even have fallen sick, and we decide to make our own assumption. They must have done something wrong. They must have done something wrong. And that is not the correct way to, and you find that we are their friends, but we decide rather than supporting them through that struggle or any challenge that they are going through, we become like these three friends of Job. We're justifying why they are going to. You're trying to justify why someone is undergoing a certain situation rather than supporting them in that situation. You're trying to find reasons and yet we do not know what those reasons are. Like in the case of these friends of Job. So we see Job says in verse 4, and if indeed I have erred, my error remains with me. So Job is standing firm that he has not done anything wrong. He's trying to refuse what his friends are trying to say, that he must have done something wrong for him to undergo this kind of suffering. But he's standing his ground because he knows he has not, we know, even God knows he has not done anything wrong. Yeah, even these friends, they don't know, they know he has not, they don't know if he has done it, that he has not done anything wrong. They've just assumed because he's suffering, he must have done something wrong. Verse 5 says that, know then that God has wronged me, and he has surrounded me with his net. So this is more like emphasizing that Job is trying to emphasize he feels that he has been wronged by God because he knows that he has not done anything to offend God. As God testified about him, he's blameless and upright. But this suffering is trying to respond to Bildad that this suffering, it's not because I've done anything wrong. He feels that it is God who have wronged him. But we all know what really has happened. We see it's the enemy who's trying to make Job to turn away from God. So from verse 6 to 12, so we see here it's more like Job is complaining about God. That know then that God has wronged me. He's saying that God has wronged him, and has surrounded me with his net. So if I cry out concerning wrong, I am not heard. So we see there before, we see Job had fellowship with God. We saw he could. It's possible. It is that there before he could call upon God and God could hear, but now he's suffering. He's trying to when he cries out concerning what is happening to him, he's not getting any reply. So he feels as if he has been wronged by God. He feels as if that there is no justice that is being done on his behalf. Verse 8, he says, he has fenced up my way so that I cannot pass. So he's speaking about that it is God who has done all this. And you can tell this is his suffering speaking, is what he's going through that is speaking, because apart from his suffering, we have these friends who are supposed to be his friends to encourage him. They are now adding salt to the injury by trying to make him look like he's the bad person, that he's wicked, like we have seen with Bildad. So Job is really frustrated at this point, and that's why he's crying out, seeing that it's that God has wronged him, that that when he call upon God, he's not heard. He feels that that God has put fence up his way, that he cannot pass, that he has set darkness in his path. So this is Job saying that God has done all this. And we see it's more like Job is complaining to God that I'm suffering all this, and he's trying to blame God that he has wronged, because he know God is a righteous judge. He know God will not allow the righteous to suffer. So he's not understanding why is what is happening to him. So in such a state, that's why you find him is really frustrated, and there's no one even to encourage him at this point. So he just feels with all that frustration, he that's why he starts saying that God has wronged him. And that his hope, in verse 10, he says that my hope has been uprooted like a tree. So we saw in chapter 16 where he had really lost hope and he was ready to die. Imagine now you are in that state, you have lost hope. And then come this, your friend Bildad, now trying to show you how you deserve that suffering. You already lost hope then. And now Bildad comes and try to say that you are wicked, trying to say that you deserve all what you're going through. You see, this is the point where now Job is speaking from, that his hope has been uprooted. From verse 13 to 21, we see now Job is continuing just to lament what he's going through. It's more like describing the actual suffering that he's going through. What's the suffering apart from now the loss of family, of his children, of his wealth, of his servants, all that. Now, apart from that loss, apart from that loss, now this is what is currently happening to him. So from verse 13 to 21, we'll see this is the current suffering that he's going through. Verse 13 says, he has removed my brothers far from me. So we see here is because of his suffering, also his brothers have also separated away from him. Mm. And my acquaintances are completely estranged from me. So even those people who knew, they have separated from him. And you could see this is something we can be able to relate to in this life or this day and age. You find that whenever you undergoing, whenever you have plenty or whenever you are successful, you have so many friends, you have so many, everyone is there for you, everyone is available. They will always find time for you, they will always be there. But when just suddenly something happens, maybe you find yourself in such situation like Job, that you have lost everything. You'd think those people who you are your friends then, those, and it's possible even you are assisting them, they could come to your aid. But you see now, like Job, how even his brothers, they distanced themselves from him. Everyone he knew was separating themselves from him. So you see, this is there's the now physical suffering, and now this is more like emotional and psychological suffering, because as you see, this is Job describing actually what he's undergoing through. His relatives have failed, so even his relatives, no one wants to associate with him. Those who dwell in my house, and that is verse 15, and my maidservants count me as a stranger. Those who used to be his servants, they don't consider him anymore as someone they know. It's really sad for in such a situation when you see such suffering that Job is going through after the great loss of wealth, family, and now this is really it's really undergoing quite some suffering. And this is something we can relate to this day, that what is happening to Job. During good times, everyone is there with you, but when now you find yourself in bad times, very few people are there with you. And maybe some, those even, and we have seen even this situation, those who are with the Job, they were adding salt to the injury. They were not supporting him, but they were making the situation even worse for him. Yeah, you see here it says that I'm an alien in their sight. So this is talking about the maid servants. I call my servant, but he gave me no answer. There before, Job could call his servant and they would quickly come and he'll be able to do what Job requires. But now they are in strange, they count him as a stranger and they don't respond to him. He says, verse 17, my breath is offensive to my wife. Even his wife here is not, can't stand him anymore. You see, he's saying that my breath is offensive to my wife. So it means he's not talking to his wife. I'm repulsed to the children. I am repulsive to the children of my own body. Even young children despise me. I arise and speak. I arise and they speak against me. Yeah, so we see it's possible because of his physical condition, because of the sickness, maybe how his appearance. It's the children also could they repulse him because of maybe they don't want to get closer to him. You see, from I think in the Bible we have seen most people, those who are lepers, people could not get closer to them, and it's possible the condition that Job was in. And we have seen there, there's somewhere it mentioned about his flesh. There's somewhere we have just read it mentioned about his flesh. So it was not a good sight to look at. Maybe that's why the children were repulsive on him. And verse 19 says, all my close friends abhor me, and those whom I love have turned against me. My bone cling to my skin and to my flesh, and I have escaped by the skin of my teeth. I think this is the verse. My bone cling to my skin and to the flesh. So you could just, if you picture that, you can just say it was really not a good sight. Job really was suffering in this situation, both physically in his health he was suffering, and also mentally in his mind he was suffering. And we see he's trying to tell his, after describing all this, how he's suffering, telling them how he has been his family, his friends, his relatives, they are not associating with him. He's trying to plead with his friends now. In this case now, Bildad, uh, Eliphaz, and Zophar, that have pity on me. That is verse 21. Have pity on me, all you, my friends. He's telling them, I have suffered enough. I believe he was describing all this for them to see actually what he is really the suffering he's undergoing through. He's trying to them, have pity on me, all you, my friends, for the hand of God has struck me. He tells them in verse 22, why do you persecute me as God does, as are satisfied with my flesh? So Job here is saying all this is suffering according to Job, or how he believes that it is God trying to tell his friends that, because all along his friends claim it is God who is doing this. He's telling them, okay, it is God who has done all this to me, but you have pity on me, all my friends, that they should stop persecuting him. He's already suffering, but these friends of Job, they continue to persecute him. So we see now, after after Job describing all this suffering, how he's really suffering, how all these issues that we see from verse 12 to I believe 22, we see now, after all that, he has mentioned all the things that he's undergoing through. But we see, like, Job remembers, or let's read verse 23 to 25 all through. So, all that my words were written, all that they were inscribed in a book, that they were engraved on a rock with an iron pen and lead forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and he shall stand at last on the earth. So after describing all that, the suffering, Job, in verse 23, we see Job, or is like hoping or praying that all these things that he has undergone through, that he would like them to be inscribed or written in a book, to be preserved, either in a book or a stone. And he wanted to, I'm so sorry that we have gone past time. Allow me just to finish. Just give me a few minutes. We'll be done. I'm sorry for going past the time. So Job desired that all this is going through to be inscribed in a book or written in a stone. And we can see, if this story was not written, we could not have heard about Job. So we see, his desire was accomplished. We are now able to read about the story of Job, how he suffered. And now as we come, we see as much as how much he suffered, he still remembered his God. And even in his suffering, he still remembers his God. We see in verse 25, for I know that my Redeemer lives, and he shall stand at last on the earth. So despite his suffering, Job makes a powerful declaration of faith. He has declared, or he has shown us how he has suffered here. And you could truly see this. Maybe even of us, maybe we could not, whatever Job went through, maybe we could not survive that. But after all that, he still remembered God. He still remembered that, for I know that my Redeemer lives, and he shall stand at last in the earth. So in this, we see a Redeemer is someone who rescues or delivers others by paying a price or fulfilling a duty to restore their rights and freedom. So when he calls God his Redeemer, he believes that God will restore what was already lost. He would currently he was in a good state, wealthy, blessed, favored, and and we see that now he's suffering. So there was a change, and now God, being the Redeemer, he'll be able to restore him back to where he was or where they're supposed to be. So he believes that God will, even though he's suffering right now, God will restore him back to where he's supposed to be, where he was or where he's supposed to be. And Job knew that he had a Redeemer, someone to rescue him from his crisis. Yes, I'm suffering now, that is Job, but I know that God will redeem me and restore what I have lost. And indeed, we'll see later at the end, towards the end of the book of Job, now that Job, he was restored. All that he had lost was restored to him. And this we can see also in Jesus Christ, who is the ultimate Redeemer. So in Hebrews 9:15, the Bible says, and for this cause he is the mediator of a new covenant. Now this is Jesus, that a death having taken place for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first covenant, that they that have been called may receive the promise of eternal inheritance. So this verse is speaking about Jesus being our mediator, our Redeemer, who came and he paid the ultimate price by dying on the cross so that we may be redeemed back to where we are supposed to be. Just like the way Job was, yes, currently is suffering, but we'll see towards the other chapters later in the book that he was redeemed and all that who had lost was restored back to him. So one of the lessons that I'm picking from these two chapters is that we should have empathy for those people who are suffering. We didn't see any empathy from Bildad, but we saw justification, trying to justify why some people are suffering. Another thing we learn here is that about guarding our words. So we saw we had Job say that the words from his friends were torment to him, and we could just see they were more they were rather than they were not encouraging, but they were adding salt to already an injured or a suffering Job. Also, we should understand suffering of others. We should not just judge people just because we see them suffering. We assume that they must have done something wrong. It's because of their personal sin. Because, like in this situation of Job, we have seen that it was not Job. Job didn't do anything wrong. He was blameless and upright. But it happened that it was the enemy was trying to prove to God that Job only cares or is honors you just because of all he has that God has blessed him with. Okay, another thing also I'm learning, especially now during this last chapter that you have just read, it's about faith in the midst of trial. So we see that even though Job was in, can we say, in the depth of his suffering, he still remembered God. Remember that my Redeemer lives. And he knew he still have faith in God that even though I'm suffering right now, God will be able to restore me back to. He'll be able to restore my life back. Yes. Yes. So that's one of the key things I've picked up today. I believe you have also been blessed. And also, I see some chat here that maybe just let me just quickly read them through. Beth says that we should guard our words and be mindful of the impact our words can have on others. Let's always strive to offer encouragement and hope rather than condemnation. James 1:9 advises us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. There is caution here on how to use our words. Yes, that is correct, Beth. We should use our words to encourage and not to discourage. Like we have seen here, Bildad didn't use his words to encourage, but he was using to discourage Job. Pesh says, Proverbs 15:1, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stirs up anger. The way we speak can either calm a situation or make it worse. Let's be cautious with our utterance. Indeed, that is true, Pesh. So how we speak really matters in in other people's lives or even in our lives. In every situation, our words really matter. How whatever we speak, let us speak encouragement and not discouragement, and not to justify people's situation, that you are in this situation because of this and this, because and this, and we have seen all this is just assumption. There was no proof that to show that, or to prove, there was no like an actual proof for the friends of Job to confirm that indeed this is an evidence why you are suffering. They were just assuming, they were just making assumption that Job had sinned. Esther says Bildad's speech reminds us of how not to comfort someone who is hurting. Yes, how not to comfort someone who is hurting. Oh yes, so we see Bildad actually was not comforting, but he was trying to justify Job's suffering, trying to paint Job as a wicked person. He was trying to show him all the ways of the wicked. And and relating that to job suffering. So thank you so much for even listening in today. And I believe that we have been blessed. And I apologize for taking an extra time. And I pray that may God into the book of Job. Be blessed. Thank you. I welcome Pastor Chris to conclude. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Lawrence. Let's clap for Lawrence even as he winds up. Let's clap for him, some reaction, some flowers. Thank you very much, Lawrence, for guiding us through that session.